In this one, I'll be talking about personalized medicine in the form of quantum computing with digital twins. And I'll be looking at a Canadian initiative called HealthSpark, which is similar to the USA's Stargate Project. And I'll be talking about DARPA and their ties with Canada, as well as a deeper dive into the Metaverse and getting into something called the Internet of Everything. So, in some very recent developments here, actually on June 25th, this article talks about the Honorable Evan Solomon meeting with Toronto Tech here. So it says he's the Minister of Artificial Intelligence and Digital Innovation and the Minister responsible for the Federal Economic Development Agency for Southern Ontario. I'm going to stop for just a sec. So for one thing, this minister title appears to be something new. I don't remember this title ever. And as well, FedDev is the Southern Ontario, and you have FedNor, and you have various other regional development agencies, and there are 7 of them in the Corporation of Canada. And pretty much they're all just different organizations that work on the Biodigital Convergence and build smart infrastructure and that sort of a thing. So, and it says, so this minister here responsible for FedDev attended Frontiers of AI, which was co-hosted by Mars Discovery District, which is in Toronto, and the Vector Institute and the University of Toronto to discuss the future of Canada's AI economy. Mrs. Minister Solomon began the day at Mars, a leading innovation hub supporting science and technology startups and scale-ups, where he highlighted Canada's leadership in AI development. He reiterated the Government of Canada's commitment to working alongside innovators to drive growth, create jobs, and scale Canada's AI industry at home and on the world stage. And he also met with a number of businesses, including FedDev Ontario supported Ecopia AI, which is a Canadian technology company using AI to create high-precision mapping data for critical applications around the world. And then, of course, Vector's world-class research community is pushing the boundaries of AI science, from accelerating equitable access to liver transplants to improving cancer care, and through its secure health AI network is enabling data-driven solutions to critical issues like staffing shortages, wait times, and patient outcomes. This afternoon, Minister Solomon announced an investment of $3.5 million for Vector to deliver HealthSpark, which is an initiative to fast-track AI innovation in Canadian healthcare and services. With the support, high-potential scale-ups and startups will receive training, mentorship, and access to key networks and AI engineering expertise as they develop AI solutions to tackle some of our most pressing healthcare challenges. Right, and it says the Government of Canada is making strategic investments to support AI adoption to foster real solutions, improve lives, reshape industries, and reimagine what is possible. In other words, pretty much working toward the biodigital convergence, otherwise known as transhumanism. So, gotta move forward, talk about Ecopia AI a little bit here. So, it says that on March 18th, 2025, Toronto, Ecopia AI announces its high-precision 3D map data, which will be available in NVIDIA Earth 2 to enable climate simulations and analytics. This data developed with NVIDIA GPUs supporting Ecopia's AI-based mapping process will provide users with unprecedented access to a comprehensive, accurate, and up-to-date digital representation of the dynamically changing physical world. Right, so it's pretty much digital twinning the world is what that seems like. And then as well, it mentions high precision geospatial data is a critical component of Earth 2's digital twin capabilities, said Dion Harris, Senior Director of HPC and AI Factory Solutions at NVIDIA. Up-to-date 3D representations of the physical world enable users to simulate climate and weather conditions as they occur, efficiently providing invaluable insights for risk assessment and disaster preparedness in situations where every second counts. Right, okay, so I guess monitoring the weather, supposedly, I guess, or weather-related scenarios is what that appears to be. That's definitely something I'll have to look into more, having to do with weather and that sort of a thing. But here you have the president of Ecopia, which is John Lipinski. Says he's the president of Ecopia, a Toronto-based ICT firm that is an international supplier of high-definition mapping products that enable. Yeah, you get the idea there. And he studied business at the Richard Ivey School of Business at Western University and co-founded Ecopia in 2013. So, as well, here we have Evan Solomon now, who is that minister I was talking about. So he's with the Liberal Party, although I'll say that, liberal conservative, two wings of the same bird. I mean, Maxime Bernier, more famously known as Graphene Bernier, has also been invested in the convergence experiment himself. See James Scott for that. And as well, so this is just a little bit of his history here. So as part of the senior management team at the media senior management team at Eurasia Group, and as well he's been on CTV News, and he was educated at McGill University. So this is the guy here that is responsible for the operation of FedDev, and he's the federal minister for AI and digital innovation, which I think honestly is a new position. As far as I'm concerned, I've never heard of it. So, and then here we have this person here talking about how it was, great to meet Evan Solomon, supposedly. And so we have now, moving forward, the Vector Institute here, which is what is responsible for HealthSpark, the Stargate Project equivalent in Canada, although this more or less has to do with startups, whereas the US project more or less has to do with using a quantum digital twin to be able to have precision medicine and create cancer mRNA shots, so to speak, is what that is in the US, and I'll elaborate on that a little bit more. But here, so Vector Institute, accelerate your healthcare AI solution with Vector's HealthSpark program, collaborate with our machine learning experts, and receive technical support for over 4 months, to build or enhance your innovation. And we're seeking Southern Ontario startups and scale-ups and so on and so forth that, produce with a product to enhance AI or a well-defined plan for a new AI-driven solution, right? As they put it, problem reaction solution, right? In the case of the scamdemic, if you will, it's very much like, they pump out an imaginary illness and then want you to take the synthetic biology pathogen, pretty much, which the things that relate to the DVOC, excuse me, I have to say certain things in a weird way. DVOC, just put that backwards and you'll know what I'm talking about. Basically, I just have to leave this video on YouTube, so I have to speak a little funny sometimes, but the synthetic biology, they pretty much 3D printed those, and then you have the controlled opposition that pretty much pump out, a fake detox remedy or something of the sort, which is either nanotechnology itself or something involved in the convergence, pretty much, right? Such as C60 or fullerenes, which I'll briefly go over in this video as well, although I did speak about it in my previous one. But anyway, these were the programs selected for the HealthSpark program here. So Verto, Medme, and Genomics, will just go over them very briefly a little bit later, and then it talks about the basically the kind of topics and priorities here. And so they talk about advanced diagnostic therapeutic techniques utilizing AI and image-guided therapy, oncology, and/or digital pathology, and AI solutions enhancing patient engagement, monitoring, and overall primary services and delivery. And then also talks about health platforms here. So technical solutions that enable open source collaboration, digital twin solutions, digital front door solutions, etc. So there you have it. They work with the digital twin concept there. Just wanted to kind of show that here. And as well, I want to say too that this institution here, the Vector Institute, is actually partnered with FedDev, which of course Evan Solomon is new minister of, and then you have the Can Health Network as well, and then of course the federal government of Canada. So the Can Health Network is a federally funded national organization working to introduce more Canadian innovation into Canada's health system. And the network works with leading Canadian health providers, referred to as EDGEs, to scale Canadian technology companies across Canada and beyond. By partnering Canadian companies directly with healthcare operators, Can Health enables these companies and their solutions to be rapidly validated, procured, and scaled across the network. Then you have the Vector Institute, of course. It's an independent, not-for-profit corporation dedicated to advanced AI, excelling in machine learning and deep learning. Our vision is to drive excellence and leadership in Canada's knowledge, creation, and use of AI to foster economic growth and improve the lives of Canadians. The Vector Institute is funded by the Government of Ontario, Government of Canada through CFAR, Pan-Canadian AI Strategy, and industry sponsors across Canada. We're going to look a little bit at CFAR as well a little bit later. I just want to say too here as they talk about improving the economy, it's interesting too because they described in the first article that I showed in this video, they described Canada's AI economy, and pretty much what that leads to there is something called a task-based economy or token-based economy, also known as gig economy, and probably several other names as well. So pretty much they want to streamline the employment world to be, rather than full-time jobs with benefits, they want to have temporary task-based positions where one is basically allotted tokens for completing their temporary task allotted to them. And they're competing with others for these tasks as well. And pretty much you would get some kind of token or equivalent of that, which would be loaded onto a virtual wallet. And this is where the blockchain comes into play. So the blockchain is basically the backbone of smart infrastructure and this convergence experiment. And what happens is that pretty much like you take an NFT, like a picture that holds data on the blockchain. That NFT is CRISPR DNA strand. CRISPR's DNA altering technology. So therefore, pretty much loading the tokens onto your virtual DNA strand wallet is pretty much where this all goes. And I can leave links for that kind of a thing as well. And I've spoken about it in prior videos. So anyway, I put this link in here just to show the fact that quantum computing is definitely a part of the Vector Institute, and it describes it an emerging field. Quantum computing integrates machine learning with quantum mechanical concepts such as molecular interactions and light wave behavior to develop supercomputers that perform at a much higher efficiency than classical computers. Quantum computers can process complex algorithms, recognize patterns in large data sets, and make predictions about physical spaces. They can also simulate quantum systems and chemical reactions. So, yeah, that's just to show you that quantum computing is a part of what the Vector Institute does. And as well, they're involved in, the digital twin. So, pretty much like using a digital representation of something. But the thing is, too, as I dive into something called the Internet of Everything closer to the end of this video, you'll see that they pretty much want to blend the physical and the digital. And yeah, so we'll get into how digital twin and stuff like that fits into the Internet of Everything. But first things first, as I'm covering various organizations. So the Vector Institute here, which I already spoke about very briefly, but it has CFAR AI chairs, 143 faculty members. 143 faculty members, 38 of which are CFAR AI chairs, and a lot of them also are part of something called AMI or MILA, which I'm not going to be getting into a whole lot in this video, but MILA is out of Montreal, and AMI, the Alberta Machine Intelligence Institute, is in Alberta. So pretty much here it says that that Vector was established by Brendan Frey, Jeffrey Hinton, and Raquel over here in 2017, with objectives of retaining and recruiting researchers in Toronto and encouraging companies to establish labs in the city. And on January 2nd, 2018, Garth Gibson became Vector's first president and CEO, and in 2023 was replaced by Tony Gaffney. The institute was housed in the Mars Discovery District, and in 2024 moved to the Schwartz-Reisman Innovation Center. So, yeah, it's interesting that it was housed at Mars Discovery District, and Mars is something that can be spoken about in various videos because it's pretty much, even though it's more like an actual startup company, helps other businesses and stuff like that basically contribute to the convergence. That's pretty much what they are, is like a startup company, and they're involved in various things from lithium extraction to quantum computing and you name it, right? So the point though about the Mars Discovery District is that it's pretty much Toronto's equivalent of Policy Horizons, which is in Ottawa. So then I just want to say here that at the end of its founding, Vector Institute received a combined total of $200 million Canadian from private and public sectors. The sources of its private sector funding include, among others, Uber, Google, Shopify, and in 2019, the Government of Ontario cut its funding of CFAR and the Vector Institute by $24 million Canadian. As part of the Pan-Canadian Artificial Intelligence Strategy, the Vector Institute, MILA, and AMI received around $60 million Canadian 2021 from the Government of Canada. And what's interesting is looking at the CFAR chair. So for one thing, CFAR is located in the Mars vicinity, as we can see by that address that I left down there. And when you go look at the people that are all involved, all the chairs and stuff like that, which too many to go over, but they're pretty much almost all part of either MILA, which is MILA Quebec AI Institute, is what it's formerly known as, and then AMI, which is the Alberta Machine Intelligence Institute. We can get into some of those a little bit in another video at some point, just because I'm focusing mostly on Ontario in this video. But yeah, and then also these people, are either at U of T or the Vector Institute, and pretty much seem to be almost like co-mingling with all of the entities that I mentioned in the first article here, in the first article that I showed in this video. So anyway, yeah, now that I have made my point and just want to kind of show everybody's face here, I'm going to move forward whenever we've scrolled past enough people. But so you have the Canadian Institute for Advanced Research, which is exactly what CFAR is, and it's a Canadian-based global research organization that brings together teams of top researchers from around the world to address important and complex questions. It's founded in 1982, and it's supported by individuals, foundations, and corporations, as well as funding from the Government of Canada and provinces of Alberta and Quebec. Go figure, that's why people from Alberta, or people working for an Alberta and Quebec AI company or machine learning company are all, part of the board, right? So now to talk about Geoffrey Hinton a little bit. But actually first, sorry, just before I talk about Geoffrey Hinton, I just want to show some of the supporters of CFAR in particular. So these are just different, like grants or donations, excuse me. So like the Brain Canada Foundation, which I'll have to look into in another video, you know, RBC, Meta Platforms, Manulife. So you have insurance companies, banks, investment firms, and, you know, big tech, of course, involved in this. And, you know, as well, I think the Rockefeller Foundation is somewhere in here too. And then I guess you got the oil and gas industry, you know, you got Petro-Canada in there, CN Railway, you know, you've got different, a little bit of manufacturing and stuff like that involved in here, plus some anonymous donors. So, yeah, and there we have it, the Rockefeller Foundation as one of them. So, Geoffrey Hinton, we're going to be looking at now, who is excuse me, he's a British-Canadian computer scientist, cognitive scientist, and cognitive psychologist known for his work on artificial neural networks, which earned him the title Godfather of AI. So that's this guy right over here. He's a university professor emeritus at U of T. And from 2013 to 2023, he divided his time working for Google Brain and the University of Toronto before publicly announcing his departure from Google in May 2023, citing concerns about the many risks of AI technology. And in 2017, he co-founded and became chief scientific advisor of the Vector Institute in Toronto. So that's where this guy comes into play. And as well, it says with David Rumelhart and Ronald J. Williams, Hinton was co-author of a highly cited paper published in 1986 that popularized the backpropagation algorithm for training multi-layer neural networks, although they were not the first to propose the approach. Now, Hinton is viewed as a leading figure in the deep learning community. The image recognition milestone of the AlexNet, designed in collaboration with his key students, Alex, not going to bother trying to pronounce that, and this lady here, for the ImageNet Challenge 2012, and was a breakthrough in the field of computer vision. And it says that he received the 2018 Turing Award, often referred to as the Nobel Prize of Computing, together with Yoshua Bengio, and I'm just not even going to bother trying to pronounce these names, for their work on deep learning, and they're sometimes referred to as the godfathers of deep learning, and have continued to give public talks together. He's also awarded, along with John Hopfield, 2024 Nobel Prize in Physics for foundational discoveries and inventions that enable machine learning and artificial neural networks. So artificial neural networks, it sounds very much like leading in the same direction or the same thing as brain-computer interface, which I'll get at a little bit in this video. So as well, it says that in 2023 of May, he announced his resignation of Google to be able to freely speak out about the risks of AI. It sounds kind of like theater, to be honest with you, because AI is integrated into, you know, military application and pretty much almost everything at this point. So he's voiced concerns about deliberate misuse by malicious actors, technological unemployment, and existential risk of artificial general intelligence. And he noted that establishing safety guidelines will require cooperation among those competing in use of AI in order to avoid worst outcomes. After receiving the Nobel Prize, he called for urgent research into AI safety to figure out how to control AI systems smarter than humans. Right. Well, I wouldn't ever go as far as to call AI smarter than humans because, you know, program has to be put into it, has to be molded, and there isn't really true sense of creativity when it comes to AI. So, and it says that, upon his arrival in Canada, we just gotta find that part. Well, upon arrival in Canada, Geoffrey Hinton was appointed at the Canadian Institute for Advanced Research, CFAR, in 1987 as a fellow in CFAR's first research program, Artificial Intelligence, Robotics, and Society. In 2004, Hinton and collaborators successfully proposed the launch of a new program at CFAR, Neural Computation and Adaptive Perception, which today is named Learning in Machines and Brains. Hinton would go on to lead NCAP for 10 years, and among the members of the program are Joshua Bengio and Jan LeCun, with whom Hinton would go on to win the ACM-AM Turing Award in 2018. All three Turing winners continue to be members of the CFAR Learning in Machines and Brains program. So now to move on to talking a little bit about Mars Discovery District, North America's largest innovation hub and registered charity, provides direct support for startups, builds communities of innovators, and accelerates the adoption of high-impact solutions to some of the world's most pressing issues. It's founded in Toronto in 2000, and its goal is to commercialize publicly funded medical research and other technologies with the help of local private enterprises, and as such in a public-private partnership. As part of its mission, Mars says Mars helps create successful global businesses from Canada's science, technology, and social innovation. As of 2014, startup companies emerging from Mars have created more than 4,000 jobs, and in the period 2011 to 2014 raised over $750 million in capital investments. The name Mars was originally drawn from a file name and later attributed to the medical and related sciences. It has since abandoned this association, as it also works in other fields such as information and communications technology, engineering, and social innovation. It's a member organization of the Ontario Network of Engineers. Definitely something to look into in a future video for sure. So, alright, so we have an article here on the brain-computer interface, which I was getting at before. So, quantum AI and brain-computer interface powered digital twin applications for the future. So, digital twin is a digital representation of a real-world physical project, system, or process that serves as the effectively indistinguishable digital counterpart of it for practical purposes such as simulation, integration, testing, monitoring, and maintenance. And in 1970, Apollo 13 triggered the needs to have a kind of digital replica. Since then, digital twin has found its applications in fields such as advanced manufacturing, product lifecycle management, aerospace, healthcare, and smart cities, right? And also, just so people are aware, the digital twin concept was created by NASA, which I would like to say stands for Never a Straight Answer, because I can't remember its acronym and it doesn't really matter right now. The future of digital twins is this one I'm reading here. No, I'm going to just talk about basically it just gives some examples about different organizations utilizing the digital twin in like the manufacturing environment to pretty much simulate different results and stuff like that, whether you're talking about the automotive industry, and then it even talks about creating digital twins of patients in healthcare and so on and so forth here. And it talks about rendering 3D objects, 3D environments, and high resolution avatars and stuff like that. So on this article, by the way, is by this Christina Yanzhang which is the CEO of the Metaverse Institute. So, quantum digital twin is a digital twin that leverages the power of quantum computing to simulate complex system. A quantum digital twin can offer advantages such as a faster simulation, higher accuracy, and greater scalability than a classical digital twin. Quantum digital twins are still under development, but they have potential to revolutionize many industries. And of course, it goes into, manufacturing through the tool company Bosch, quantum digital twins of their machines to see their performance and that kind of a thing. And of course, building technology and, healthcare, which I was getting at and also is a big theme of this video. And quantum digital twins, it says, are in the early stages. Well, this article is, I think, from 2023. Let me see. Yeah, so 2023, we've after a couple of years since this article came out, and face many challenges such as availability and reliability of quantum computers, the interoperability of the standardization of data formats, and the ethical and social implications of creating virtual copies of physical systems. Now, Bosch believes that quantum digital twins have the potential to revolutionize a wide range of industries and to improve the lives of people around the world. Yeah, if you say so, whatever. So now you have brain-computer interface, which pretty much people are probably going to think about Elon Musk's Neuralink as an example, but there are different kinds of brain-computer interfaces. And so I think that through, social engineering and these kinds of things, that organizations would very much want to create something that appears to be non-invasive. So, and I mean that in terms of something that, something that people accept when I use the term non-invasive. I'm not using any of these terms here that I'm about to go over in that context. But anyway, it says that a BCI is a direct communication pathway between the brain's electrical activity and an external device. Based on how close electrodes get to brain tissue, can be put into three different types. So invasive ones are directly implanted into the brain. It says they provide the highest quality signal, but they're also the most risky and invasive types. And they're typically used for research purposes or to help people with severe paralysis, apparently. Right. So, and then you have non-invasive BCIs, which are worn outside of the body. They're less invasive, of course, but they provide a lower quality signal. And non-invasive ones are the most common type and are used in a variety of applications like gaming, entertainment, rehab, and rehabilitation. And then partially invasive are implanted under the scalp but not directly into the brain. And they provide a better quality signal than non-invasive BCIs, but are less invasive. And they're still under development, but they have potential, apparently, as they say here. But, the point here too is that with this kind of a thing, there are various kinds of brain-computer interfaces, and as well, I believe that Melanie Swan has also written an article about BCIs. I didn't include that in this video, but I'll make sure to do that in a future one. But Melanie Swan is the one who talked about the blockchain and talked about different nodes meaning device, to access a device or to access the blockchain. And that's no different from a machine to a human being in terms of context of node from her perspective. So therefore there is no real sense of privacy with the blockchain, right? So I just want to say too, as well, like I just want to touch on a little side note here, but this screenshot here from, I guess, Twitter post, is exposing, RFK Jr., the whole Make America Healthy Again, MAHA. It actually means Make American Biotech Accelerate, and pretty much like, so RFK Jr. is pushing for this. And, you know, when he says President Trump showed in his first term what happens when you unlock American science, breakthroughs happen fast. So he's referring to Operation Warp Speed, I believe, which is how he, you know, pushed out the, if you will, much faster. But for one thing, I'm going to talk about the National Nanotechnology Initiative and how both the Democrats and Republicans have funded that, and what that is a little bit. The National Nanotechnology Initiative is part of the FDA, which basically works to put nanotechnology into food and vaccinations. So I'm not sure if in context RFK Jr. is referring to how in 2020 the Republicans as well as the Democrats both funded the NNI, or if he is talking about Operation Warp Speed in particular. But anyway, the point though is that while RFK is talking about wearables and is being called out, and of course should be called out, what happens is the way distractions work is it's like information warfare, where a whole lot of things are thrown at people from, you know, conflict between Israel and Iran, or U.S. and Iran, and that kind of a thing. And by the way, Iran, Palestine, and Israel all sit in the cybersecurity and blockchain technical committees, which are like, technical committees are the standards organizations, groups that have one country standard organization leading a project, and then you have many other country standard organizations within that technical committee or joint technical committee and that kind of a thing. So yeah, Israel, Iran, and Palestine all sit together in the cybersecurity and blockchain arena. So looking at any developments of that military conflict is a distraction. And also this idea where, you know, of course, RFK Jr. is promoting wearable technology. Yeah, it should be called out, but the thing too is that this kind of a thing is being pumped out like crazy all over social media, and it's really not only to distract you from a bigger picture, but make you think that you have some kind of choice in regards to the biodigital convergence, like these people rely on your consent, or just saying no, as Chris Sky, Mr. Captain Hopium said, right? But, you know, the reality of the situation is that there's nanotechnology in the environment, food, and there are various manners in which we can actually talk about this whole convergence experiment, right? So it's not something that we have a choice in, and it has been going on since, well, nobody can really give you an exact date, but I'll just say since at least 1865 at the inception of the International Telecommunications Union. But regardless, though, all countries are involved in the convergence experiment, and all are on board with it and pushing for it in various manners of speaking, whether we're talking about, you know, digital twins, or the blockchain, or a token-based economy, and also, you know, 3D bioprinting, synthetic biology, and biomimicry, and that sort of a thing. So anyway, just to go over the National Nanotechnology Initiative just a little bit here. So I already used this link in a prior video. So it's been a driving force for the scientific community working on nanomaterials in the U.S. and an inspiration for the launch of nanotechnology programs elsewhere. And following a report by the Interagency Working Group on Nanotechnology presented in September 1999, President Clinton launched the NNI in a speech at the California Institute of Technology on January 21st, 2000. On December 3rd, 2003, the NNI became law through the so-called 21st Century Nanotechnology Research and Development Act signed by President Bush. It's interesting to see a Democrat and a Republican both moving forward with the National Nanotechnology Initiative, right? Well, it says during the past 15 years, the NNI has shape and grown in size. The number of agencies participating in the initiative has grown from 5 to 33, and the NNI has received strong support from both Democratic and Republican administrations, with over $1.4 billion US in the president's budget request for 2020. So there you have it. Both sides support the convergence. Don't trust the plan. So anyway, to go now with Stargate LLC, or Stargate Project. Like I said, this is the HealthSpark is the Canadian equivalent, but HealthSpark is more like utilizing other startups, right? So, and that's just kind of what makes them, I guess, a little bit different here. But Stargate Project, incorporated in Delaware as Stargate LLC, is an American multinational AI joint venture created by OpenAI, who run ChatGPT, SoftBank, Oracle, and investment firm MGX. The venture plans on investing up to $500 billion in AI infrastructure in the U.S. by 2029, and it's been planned since 2022 and was formally announced on January 21st, 2025 by U.S. President Donald Trump, and SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son is the venture's chairman. So it's named after the film, the 1994 film Stargate, and the scale of it has been compared to the Manhattan Project. And the Stargate term dates back to 2024, when OpenAI and Microsoft started developing a $100 billion AI supercomputer. And by January 21st, 2025, President Donald Trump announced the venture at a White House press conference, accompanied by Sam Altman from OpenAI, Larry Ellison from Oracle, and Masayoshi Son from SoftBank. Donald Trump called it the largest AI infrastructure project in history, and indicated that he would use emergency declarations to expedite the project's development, particularly regarding energy infrastructure. And it says that Larry Ellison contended that Stargate could lead to the AI-facilitated production of these particular things against cancer, and that such things could be designed robotically or by leveraging AI in about 48 hours, he said. So pretty much here it's, quantum digital twin for robotically giving somebody this particular thing here. So it's a little bit more specified than HealthSpark, as HealthSpark doesn't directly talk about those things there that I roll my mouse over. So here I'm just going to talk a little bit about those three startups, just read a little bit about them. Verto Health, we take our name seriously, derived from the Latin word verto, which means to transform. CEO and founder Michael Miller recognized the need for a fundamental shift in the healthcare industry. Too often health systems and healthcare organizations were out of sync, data was out of date, and patients felt lost in the healthcare maze. And so, and of course they mentioned digital twins, on this website. So, let's see here if I could just quickly, digital twin, there you go, you have it right at the bottom there. So, yeah, that's what, so these people are involved in that, and then you have MedMe Health, which these are the two co-founders over here. And it says MedMe is building the operating system to transform pharmacies into community healthcare hubs. Join us to usher in this new generation of pharmacy together. And then it goes on to, show some of their investors, which of course includes Mars and various others. Now, the thing too is that while this is, directly dealing with pharmacy, the whole idea of quote-unquote personalized medicine, I'll show you on the holistic side as well, which I'm not endorsing it, using a term like holistic. I'm just saying what people try to market as, you know, a natural solution or whatever, basically is no different than big pharma for in terms of the nanotechnology element, and also to, you know, utilizing quantum digital twins on both sides we'll be looking at as well. So then, of course, you have genomics is the last one here. And of course, you know, they give mention of AI and robotics on the website. So, yeah, basically AI, robotics, digital twins, quantum computing, all seem to be kind of like the common ground here with all of these things working with the Vector Institute. Now, here, I'm going to look at this guy named Dr. Edward Group. And Dr. Edward Group, in particular, is one of these guys, you know, apparently promoting, you know, natural remedies, so to speak, using that term very loosely. But, so he's the founder and chairman of something called the Global Healing Institute. And it says that he, Dr. Group, DC, is a well-renowned, well-renowned natural health expert, best-selling author, and frequent guest on radio and television. As a healer and alternative health advocate, Dr. Group has dedicated his life to helping others. Dr. Group's mission is to identify and eliminate the root cause of disease. He's the founder and chairman of Global Healing, an industry leader and innovator in the field of natural health. And through his company and his media appearances, he's spreading his message of positivity, hope, and wellness throughout the world. I would say probably more like hopium and problem, reaction, solution, artificial solution kinds of aspects of solutions, or whatever you really want to describe these things as, because they're not real solutions, of course. So, in particular, like this guy, so like founder and chairman of Global Healing, and he was also in the U.S. Army and Infantry for 4 years, I think is interesting, and he was educated at MIT, which is a huge military industrial complex related university, and of course he went to Harvard Business School as well, and then at Southeastern Louisiana University was a member of the Kappa Sigma fraternity. I didn't really include a link for that in this video. But anyway, though, this guy here, what's interesting is he's on this AI wellness website, and also, as well, you know, he is pushing something called C60, otherwise known as buckyballs or fullerenes. I went into them in far more depth in my previous video that has Love and Light in its title. Now, their fullerenes are in various different things, from, you know, aerospace manufacturing, and also is in you know, pharmaceuticals and beauty products and stuff like that too. So what are they? They can basically be a tube or put into a ball. And it says fullerene-based materials may have important photonic device applications. So photonic being essentially the equivalent of electronics, but using light instead of electricity. So light is powering these things. And fullerenes exhibit a very large non-linear optical response. For example, their optical properties change with exposure to light, and may well be suitable for a range of telecommunications applications. The nonlinear optical properties may be enhanced by the addition of one or more metal atoms externally to the fullerene cage, as well as within the cage itself. So pretty much you can attach other metals on its exterior or inside of it, and pretty much almost use it like a photonic battery to power something. So it's pretty much, like in layman's terms, turning people into machinery is what it's doing. So that's what Dr. Edward Group is all about. And that's what Alfred Weber from the Alliance of Indigenous Nations is all about, who I mentioned in my last video. So anyway, here you have Dr. Edward Group on the AI Wellness channel or website as well. And so, of course, this AI Wellness, they deal with all kinds of different things, from which, of course, involve the digital twin, as that is the theme of this video, seems to be. And it says that at AI Wellness, so I have to actually scroll up far again, autonomous wellness ecosystem, right? It's pretty much just smart technology is what it is, and you personalized healthcare platform. So personalized healthcare is being developed with HealthSpark, being developed with the Stargate Project, and then you have this as well, which deals in the more quote-unquote holistic side of things, or natural things. I use that word in heavy air quotes because there are, natural nanomaterials and synthetic ones, but both are used in the convergence experiment. So it says cutting edge AI, digital avatars, and it bridges a gap between healthcare and wellness. And so you have AI wellness robots, wellness screens, a smart vending machine, and we'll take a look at this Hermes longevity platform another time, just because I'm covering a few different things in this video. So you have, these 4 different things here, and pretty much, you can see that all of these leading health and wellness brands here support AI wellness, and that would include Dr. Edward Group's Global Healing Institute as well. So, is there anything else on this website that is worth showing in this particular video, is the question. So, with this kind of a thing here, right, they pretty much are building smart technologies and, applying quantum computing and digital twin to pretty much create one's own personal health platform. And pretty much anybody falling for this, nonsense here is pretty much just contributing to the convergence experiment and just a different form, while actually doing the exact same thing as people that would be supporting HealthSpark, or the Stargate project, which I guess some might call that 5D chess or some ridiculous crap. I don't know. But anyway, this is the founder, Abby Aboites. Apologies on the pronunciation, don't really care. But anyway, I guess she was educated at Georgetown University, and we can see here some of her experience. It says, I'm passionate about transforming healthcare and wellness by making cutting-edge technology more accessible and impactful. And through AI Wellness, I've worked to create an ecosystem that integrates AI, precision education, and digital avatars using interactive AI wellness screens, smart vending machines, and AI-powered robots to bring personalized health guidance to people everywhere. My goal with Hermes Longevity is to set a new standard for digital education while also connecting people to meaningful wellness solutions through AI Wellness Marketplace. Beyond AI Wellness, I've been fortunate to work on projects that merge technology with everyday life. Sounds like merging, the biological and digital right there. But anyway, whether it's a smart car that monitors biometrics, an advanced smart ring for health tracking, or electromuscle stimulation suits designed to optimize performance and recovery. I've also helped develop tools like an AI-powered hotel navigation system, next-generation event management platform, and a digital magazine that pushes the boundaries of innovation. So wow, hotel navigation system. Okay, so it sounds very much like, very similar to Acopia AI, basically designing maps of environments, pretty much. And then also different, wearable technologies, and also, biometrics as well. Pretty vast reach there. And it says, this year we're launching Mission 2025, an initiative designed to take AI wellness to the next level. And it talks about angels of alignment, recognizing 455 world leaders in health, wellness, and innovation, providing them with digital profiles, media features, and integration into our AI wellness ecosystem, right? More like having them all be, digital twins, but whatever. What do I know? These people, anyway. AI Wellness Pavilion, groundbreaking experience at Mr. Olympia, showcasing the future of wellness technology, AI-driven health solutions in an interactive space for wellness brands. AI Wellness Platinum Network, a select membership for wellness pioneers, offering access to AI-driven optimization programs, health technology, and industry-leading collaborations. And then it also mentions a film here, Infinite Wellness, The New Human Era, at Fontainebleau Hotel in Las Vegas. It's a premiere for that, I guess. And it talks about human potential, longevity, and AI's role in shaping the next evolution of wellness. I guess these people want to be immortal or gods or something like that. That's what it sure sounds like. So, founder of AI Wellness, like I was mentioning, chief strategy officer and managing partner at Marketech AI. She's still working there presently, and she's a board of directors of Equipay, which has to do with credit card processing. And then the co-founder of this mind-body matrix marketplace by AI Wellness, and as well sits on the Forbes Council, the head of Diplomatic Council, UNOREG. Wow, okay, so I guess she's also involved in international affairs as well, and Georgetown University, and speaks Spanish, Chinese, and Filipino. So there you have it. Wow. Anyway, quite a resume there, but nonetheless, just showing people that the AI wellness platform is the fake natural version of HealthSpark and the Stargate Project as well. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the Metaverse, and then after I talk about the Metaverse and some things that surround it, I'm going to get into talking about DARPA and building up to the Internet of Everything. So the Metaverse has entered people's horizons through virtual reality, digital twinning, Internet of Things, blockchain technology, etc., and in the current healthcare system, the management of chronic diseases such as chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and obstructive sleep apnea, apnea-hypopnea syndrome, still faces challenges such as uneven distribution of medical resources and difficulty in follow-up, overburdening of specialists, and so on. However, Metaverse medical platforms incorporating advanced AI technologies, such as industrial-scale digital twins, may address these issues. In this article, we discuss the application prospect of these technologies in digital medicine and the future of the medical metaverse. So, metaverse is concept defined 2 decades ago, but in 2021, it was rapidly emerging. And so currently, people, basically some people consider it the ultimate form or next form of the internet, but currently can regard the metaverse as a ternary society based on digital technology. People participate with digital entities, and the ternary community integrates humans, machines, and materials. And the ideological concept comes from the novella True Names by American mathematician Professor Werner Vinge in 1981, which creatively conceived of a virtual world that can be entered and participated in through a brain-computer interface. So once again, now you have that theme. Again, so we see it in like video games, and you also see the metaverse aligned with business and emerging, and as well, they say it could impact journalism and traditional retail industry and art and museum exhibitions and various digital technologies and such. So over time, the spectrum of diseases prevalent in society have changed. So chronic non-communicable diseases referred to as chronic diseases such as cancer, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, asthma, and such have become a threat to human health, and consequently the prevention and management of chronic conditions need to be strengthened. For example, in the management of COPD, patients are still laced with a severe shortage of general practitioners. Large public hospitals are overwhelmed, specialists are overburdened, community hospitals are not taken seriously, and the population lacks knowledge of medical issues. Many different problems challenge the traditional medical environment and healthcare models. The emergence of the metaverse concept may provide new directions for healthcare. Along with the popularization of intelligent materials, the improvement of 5G, blockchain, and other infrastructures, the maturity of virtual reality, augmented reality, and other virtualization technologies, the natural world and the virtual world are becoming integrated. This article will discuss the application of these digital technologies in healthcare that they say may help address the challenges and the future of the medical metaverse. Right. So just to take away from that is just the integration of what is physical and digital there. So we're going to go over these 4 terms here that are that have to do with the development of what they call meta medicine here. So starts off with the holographic construction in these 4 stages of the metaverse. So it says basically that the first stage is to build a static geometric model of the entire world, including hospitals, medical equipment, other things, and to divide these things into 3 elements: events, scenes, and people. For example, in a typical surgical scene, the indoor environment and medical equipment constitute the scene, and patients and medical staff include the people. Events consist of dynamic data and information generated during the interactions between people and people, or between people and scenes. So then you have the holographic simulation. The dynamic process of metamedicine will be constructed to make the virtual world approach the natural world in infinite detail, along with the development of technology on the one hand. On the one hand, it will continue to improve its fidelity at the physical level, coarse and fine-grained level, and interaction level. On the other hand, it will be connected with medical information and data systems such as PACS systems with the help of real-time motion capture and multi-sensor device information interaction. Digital avatars of patients and doctors will provide real-time and intuitive feedback on accurate data and information. Then you have the fusion of virtual and real. So the continuous improvement of computer simulation technology, digital technology, will make the virtual medical world seem more real. Thus, in building a mixed medical reality world, the boundary between the physical and real worlds will be broken. For example, in an outpatient setting, a doctor could communicate with a patient wearing an XR device through real-time identification tracking and information interaction. Patient-related information and data will be retrieved in real time and represented as a superimposed reality, forming a new relationship with the current natural environment. And virtual real linkage. So many new medical methods and types of medical equipment and facilities will be created through further development of computer simulation, brain-computer interfaces, AI, and other technologies. And the changes in medical processes in the real world will follow technological development. Through transformations, medical interventions in the 2 planets will gradually produce more intersections and finally give birth to new concepts and methods in the era of meta-medicine. The meta-medical world will assist in supplementing and improving medical processes in the real world, if you say so, and it says it'll be able to observe physical space through the information space and also transform the physical space through the information space. Right. The blending of the virtual and the physical. And so medicine, it says, has 3 characteristics that distinguish it from traditional medicine. So interaction of all things, so patients and doctors can access the digital world through various types of hardware and edit it in real time, with everything in the real world being interconnected with the virtual world. And then it says the integration of virtual and real. So metamedicine will closely integrate the virtual and the real through economic systems, social systems, and identity systems, so that patients and doctors have the same richer and more intuitive perception in the 3D world of real and virtual. Then, of course, decentralization. So this is, of course, where the blockchain technology comes into play. So blockchain is like, ledger technology, distributed ledger technology. So everything is recorded, similar to like how when you go to the grocery store and a cashier, puts your groceries individually through, your apples, your oranges, bananas, or whatever, is all that is recorded, right? So that's pretty much what happens on the blockchain. Now, people will like to sell you the illusion of privacy or, decentralization, this kind of a thing. But the reality is through, reading Melanie Swan's Transhuman Crypto Cloud Minds, which I have shown in various videos. I'll leave that link in this in the description as well. But like I said, nodes, which are devices used to access the blockchain in context of that article, nodes are no different from machines to human beings. So just as easy as somebody watches this video or interacts with me either virtually or physically, there isn't really a sense of privacy there, right? So anyway, so 3 dimensions of the metaverse: users, technology, and information. And patients and doctors are the 2 most important user groups, and everyone will have their own digital identity in the virtual world through digital twins, real-time patient information, imaging data, and other features that will shape the digital avatars of the medical world. So doctors and patients will communicate through their, avatars, breaking time and space constraints. And on this basis, the digital world will apparently have greater freedom than the real world. A great way to market this, giving us a more dimensional observation perspectives, changing the manner of communication and interaction, and allowing us to reshape reality in the world of metamedicine, right? And which will be on, Web3 technology, right? Which is, no different than saying blockchain. So the thing here too, I guess, I didn't include this in the presentation, but Policy Horizons, which was created by the Privy Council, and the leader, Crystal Vander Elst, is part of something called the Global Foresight Group, which does business with the UN, WEF, the IMF, and different organizations of that nature. And she's also a member of the IEC, the International Electrotechnical Commission, which is one of the various standards organizations involved in this whole thing, like the ISO, the International Organization for Standards, and then the IEEE, which I can't remember the acronym, what it stands for offhand, but the point is that Policy Horizons has something called the Future of Sense Making, which has to do with basically social engineering and pretty much accepting these kinds of things, and also, how to tackle what they would perceive as issues, and what they call conspiracy theories and these kinds of things, and information control, and basically allowing people to, accept some kind of, or trying to get people to accept some kind of, whatever a new norm is at the time, and that kind of a thing, right? So people should look up the Future of Sense Making, and I'll even put that in links in the description here. So this article is about the Internet of Everything, and I'm not going to go over everything in this article, so to speak, but I will go over bits and pieces of it and show you how this is kind of integrating the whole brain-computer interface thing, digital twins, quantum computing, and the blockchain, right? So the Internet of Everything expands on the Internet of Things by not only connecting devices, but also integrating people, processes, and data in a unified network. The holistic process fosters real-time communication and collaboration between various domains. It's built on 4 foundational elements: people, process, data, and things. And then the trajectory of Internet of Everything points toward increased integration of advanced technologies such as AI and cloud computing, leading to more autonomous systems and data-driven decision-making processes across various sectors. So it says here that the Internet of Everything encompasses the interconnection of not just devices, but people, processes, and data, creating a network where everything communicates, collaborates, and shares information in real time. So, and it also integrates the physical and digital worlds, leveraging advanced technologies such as sensors, AI, cloud computing. So, different kinds of sensors, for instance, so going to, the National Research Council of Canada, for instance, or any of these kinds of organizations, like these sensors would be used to twin the environment, and comes in the form of graphene, which graphene is used in the touchscreen of a smartphone, for instance, and it's also used to twin the environment pretty much. So that is part of what people call geoengineering, but people often misconstrue that term or just use it in relation to weather, for instance, and pretty much a lot of terms or certain things are zoned in on and focused on, like what they were trying to coerce people to take during different lockdowns. That all relates to what's called synthetic biology, like 3D bioprinting. But what I'm saying is that people don't really point out those things like synthetic biology, so they would just focus in and of itself on the experiment in and of itself. 5G towers, geoengineering, but only talking about the weather. And so these kinds of things, but they're not, expanding to talk about graphene in and of itself and its use of twinning, or the biodigital convergence as a whole, and the alternative routes that controlled opposition and the so-called freedom movement, whether you're talking about Canada or the USA, which are just both corporations, but people like that pushing their alternative nanotechnologies in the form of saying detox from whatever, take this instead, which is just, another, nanomaterial, or, another piece of technology like fullerenes, for instance, or C60. So yeah, pretty much like this all has to do with the future of sense making, social engineering kind of a thing, right? So, and then it talks about optimizing supply chains, like in regards to the Internet of Everything, optimizing supply chains, enhancing healthcare delivery, again, theme of this video. And then talking about, revolutionizing transportation systems, energy productions, and empowering smart cities. And so it encompasses like the interconnectedness of all elements within a network, and as well, this evolution, as they call it, is driven by advancements in technology, including the proliferation of sensors, the rise of AI, and the expansion of cloud computing capabilities. And so the four foundational pillars: people, process, data, and things. People represent the human element, and it says in this interconnected ecosystem where individuals interact with devices and systems to drive innovation and create value. And then process refers to the workflows and procedures that govern how tasks are executed and decisions are made within organizations and communities. And data, lifeblood of the Internet of Everything, as it says here, encompassing the vast streams of information generated by connected devices and systems, which are analyzed to extract insights and drive informed decision making. And then finally, things denote the myriad of interconnectedness of devices, sensors, smart grid technology, and machines that form the physical infrastructure of the Internet of Everything, enabling seamless data and communication across exchange of data and communication across the network. So I think I've pretty much covered this in depth here. So contributing to a sustainable future, right? So whoever wrote this article, it's all written in that same kind of corporate language, right? Using the UN Sustainable Development Goals is kind of like the mandate to complete the convergence experiment, right? So, which of course the standards organizations use that kind of United Nations language. So it says smarter farming, but there's smart farming is encompassed in this whole thing as well, which I'll have to talk about in another video. But all these different aspects like robotics, quantum computing, digital twins, and stuff like that, and the blockchain are all used in smart farming, no different. So I mean, also too, like monitoring the growth rate of a plant and stuff like that. There would be different kinds of nanotechnologies on the plants for stuff like that. And then telemedicine, which is pretty much the era that we're in, personalized healthcare through pretty much a computer device or phone, which computers, phones, pretty much the same thing at this point. So yeah, I think this about covers the Internet of Everything. So I'm a little more disorganized than usual, I guess, here. But anyway, now to talk a little bit about DARPA and what they're doing. So DARPA is the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency in the USA, and I'll talk a little bit about who they are, and I'll actually do that now. Independent research and development agency within the U.S. Department of Defense, created in response to the launch of Sputnik in 1957. You have DARPA, and then of course transforming seemingly impossible world-changing defense and national security capabilities. And oftentimes their innovations become fixtures of modern civilian life. So they deal with different things, in the Department of Defense, whether you're talking about military application or something, having to do with, we'll say, civilian application using their language, but in reality, the transhumanism or the biodigital convergence really is warfare on humanity in and of itself. However you want to look at it, it's all really military application if you break it down, but regardless here. So DARPA's programs fund some of fundamental research required to establish proof of concept, performer teams, define the path for new technologies, use of service for nation's warfighters, transition partners, lead work of implementation, technology transfer, and commercialization. And of course, military capabilities. They created the game, stealth technology, precision weapons, and nerve implants that return sensation to warriors who've lost limbs, and more that stand as a marvel to militaries around the globe, it says here. Automated voice recognition and language translation with the internet. And there was a sort of very beta version of the internet. I can't remember what it's called offhand, but it was actually first utilized during the Vietnam conflict, actually. So, and then so that I guess about covers DARPA, so they deal with anything having to do with, biotechnologies of sorts, military application, AI, robotics, etc. So the guy who runs DARPA, the director, is Stephen Winchell, who is the 24th director as of May 2025. And prior to being part of DARPA, he led AI and autonomy portfolio for the Defense Department's Strategic Capabilities Office. He was chief engineer for the Pentagon's algorithmic warfare cross-functional team, commonly known as Project Maven. And he's a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy, where he taught later as a faculty member in the Electrical and Computer Engineering Department. Must have ties to standards groups then, if he has, worked as an engineer. And he's also served as a as a submarine officer in the U.S. Navy and continues to serve as an officer in the U.S. Navy Reserve. And he's been a Presidential Innovation Fellow at the Intelligence Advanced Research Projects activity and worked with a venture-backed startup focused on AI security. And he's a rescue scuba diver, skydiver, and avid student of military history. And, this just breaks down his education over here. And you have Rob McHenry, Deputy Director of, so this is the Deputy Director of DARPA. He rejoined DARPA in September 2022 after serving as founder and CEO of Bright Silicon Technologies, an optical micro device manufacturing company. And he's been executive leader of organizations at the forefront of advanced technology development. He began his career as a nuclear submarine officer in the U.S. Navy, serving aboard the USS Portsmouth SSN 707, and as a special assistant to the Chief of Naval Operations. Upon leaving military service, he supported DARPA, including technical development for the DARPA Grand Challenge for unmanned ground vehicles, and managed a consulting firm where he served as director of future development of the Littoral Combat Ship Program, and from 2007 to 2012 he's project manager in DARPA's Tactical Technology Office, where he focused on complex autonomous systems in the maritime domain. His research in self-deploying unmanned ships developed the first class of maritime vessels traveling long distances autonomously for months at a time. He also started the long-range anti-ship missile program, which is a foundational breakthrough in autonomous weapons, and successfully transitioned to the U.S. Navy as a program of record. In acknowledgement of his program's impact on national security, he received the DARPA Game Changer Award in 2019, and he worked from 2012 to 2020 at Palo Alto Research Center, where he held roles of Energy Technology Program Manager, Vice President of Public Sector Operations, and Chief Operations Officer and Executive in Residence for the founding of a new business unit for advanced materials manufacturing. Served on the board of trustees of the USS Hornet Sea, Air, and Space Museum in Alameda, California, and is the co-inventor of 6 patents for energy and optical systems. And of course, he went to MIT. So there you have the people who run DARPA, pretty much. So now that people know what DARPA is, this article here has to do with AI research. So, in what is described in March 13, 2024 as this budget request, DARPA asks for increased spending for a handful of AI projects focused on human-machine teams, AI reasoning, and highly autonomous AIs that follow the Defense Department's AI ethics principles. Now, perhaps the most important AI program DARPA is looking to fund in FY 2025 is the Rapid Experimental Missionized Autonomy, or REMA, which seeks to enhance commercially available and stock military drones with a subsystem to enable autonomous operation. In other words, it would give remotely piloted drones purchased anywhere new powers to make decisions. So DARPA is asking for $13.8 million, or was asking for $13.8 million for the program, and this is March of 2024, from a request of $5 million last year in order to continue to develop software, integrate with other performers, test, refine, and retest REMA solution through multiple development cycles. Another program called Autonomy Standards and Ideals with Military Operational Values, or ASIMOV, will test how Defense Department autonomous weapons adhere to the department's safety and ethics principles. They're requesting $22 million this year, up from $5 million last year, to test autonomous weapons software against complex scenarios involving ethical decisions. So, big theme among the AI programs getting first funded or increased funding is the idea of human-machine interaction, or symbiosis, as DARPA calls it. And one example, a new program called Access in AI and Human-Machine Symbiosis will seek to make chatbots capable of realistic and positive dialogue and initiate designs for large pre-trained models supplemented with legal sources to propose legal actions to deter adversaries, and DARPA was requesting $13 million for it. So the reason why I included DARPA in this video is because you have this stupid AI chatbot on this AI wellness platform, and so those chatbots really are just DARPA design, along with Siri, where people, talk to AI, ask it questions or to do something. Siri wasn't necessarily created by DARPA per se, but pretty much DARPA started a project called Calo or Calo, C-A-L-O. We'll get into that after I finish reading this article, but basically that's the starting point for what led to Siri, right? So anyway, so it stands for Cognitive Assistant that Learns and Organizes. So one of the primary goals of computing today is the ability to learn in an unsupervised way for computers to be effective in working and, helping in our lives. As it says here, you need to understand how humans behave and be able to communicate with us. Computer must use AI to learn and use reason to make decisions. The idea of a computer that uses AI to service human beings in their daily lives paved the way for the development of the digital assistant project that kickstarted this was known as the cognitive assistant that learns and organizes. And it's collaboration, smart technology, and it says new way to interact with computers. And this is a device that organically interacts with humans, has been goal of humanity since the inception of the computer. Looking back through literature, countless examples of such digital assistants can be found, many of them embodied as robots like HAL 9000 from the movie 2001 Space Odyssey, which has somewhat of a sinister side to it. Calo would bring, it says, some of the more positive visions of cognitive digital agents to life, right? Getting us almost to accept AI in a human-like sense rather than it actually just being specifically a machine. Well, anyway, Calo was an output of the PAL, which is a personal assistant that learns framework from DARPA, a massive collaboration project led by SRI International, Stanford Research Institute International. The program involved many institutions, including Carnegie Mellon University, University of Massachusetts, and the Institute for Human and Machine Cognition. PAL focused on creating a framework for the use of cognitive systems that work alongside humans, learning from experience and applying logic and reason to commands from human operators. The original PAL program worked closely with military partners. The U.S. Army's command post of the future continues to innovate using the PAL program to enable voice-based interaction with users to support military planning. So this was a collaborative effort led by Stanford Research Institute International, involving more than 300 researchers from 22 premier research institutions over 5 years, beginning in 2003. And one of the key designs of the Calo team was to create a system that will handle a broad range of interrelated decision-making tasks that have in the past been resistant to automation. So basically building, I guess, what they call modern day digital assistants. So, and yeah, people can read on and on about this, but I'll just read this paragraph here, but one of the offshoots of the Salo project was the meeting assistant Salo Ma, which is the Salo meeting assistant system, not only to digitally assist the business meetings, but to also test out natural language and speech processing technologies. The nature of meetings being multi-party and using domain language made the system development challenging. The components of this included speech recognition software based on the hidden Markov model used in another of the Stanford Research Institute's inventions, the Decipher project. So there we have it. So, and it says that it would, become the guide for many smart technologies in the future. Yeah. So this is what paved the way for Siri, and pretty much like I would say as well, the AI chatbots that you see on those websites. So you have what's called a quantum benchmarking initiative from DARPA, in which characterize their unique concepts for creating a useful fault-tolerant quantum computer within a decade. And this kicked off in July of 2024, which aims to determine whether it's possible to build such a computer much faster than conventional predictions. And the Quantum Benchmarking Initiative is designed to rigorously verify and validate whether any quantum computing approach can achieve utility scale operation, meaning its computational value exceeds its cost by the year 2033. And it goes over various companies that were selected for Stage A, it says here. So Stage A, 6-month sprint, as it says here. So the following companies that were chosen, you have various ones here in the States and Europe and also Canada. So I'll just mention the Canadian ones here in particular, but so you have Nord over here, Nord Pentique, which is in Quebec. And then you have Photonic Inc. in Vancouver in BC out west. And then, of course, as well, you have Xanadu in Toronto, which has to do with photonic quantum computing. So all these are various types of quantum computing organizations. So, and then of course there are various stages and such of this this program here, which people can read over themselves. And so Canada's dedication to the quantum industry here. There's the National Quantum Strategy, which started in 2021, and so I just want to say on behalf of quantum industry community, CEO Lisa Lambert issued a statement where she congratulated, the new Prime Minister Mark Carney, emphasized quantum technologies that are, central to building Canada's economic strength, national security, and global leadership, right? So basically, it says here that quantum technologies represent a generational opportunity to grow Canada's future, strengthen national security, build industries in future, and so on and so forth. Quantum is a platform technology, much like digital technologies were a generation ago. It will underpin future advances across critical sectors: communications, computing, defense, healthcare, transportation, energy, finance, natural resources, and more. What's at stake is not just leadership in a single industry, but the ability to shape the very infrastructure that future economies and societies will rely on. According to a study commissioned by the National Research Council of Canada, the quantum sector has the potential to contribute more than 3% of Canada's GDP and create over 200,000 high-value jobs by 2045, but it says the window is narrowing. So countries around the world are investing aggressively to turn early quantum capabilities into strategic and economic advantage. And so they talk about investments leading to homegrown companies, as they say here, so startups, I guess. And that's where something like Mars District Discovery would come in, or Discovery District, whatever, and securing supply chains and anchoring quantum deployment here at home. So, and then it talks about the liberal government's commitment, etc. here, but regardless, anybody with the honorable in their name, like Mark Carney, is somebody who is part of the Privy Council, and the Privy Council is what created Policy Horizons. So anybody sure as hell that has the honorable in their title is definitely compromised. But regardless, though, so people should be looking into the biodigital convergence at their local levels, and also really the only detox from any nanotechnology is to get rid of the technocrats in and of itself, putting the nanotechnologies into the environment, into us through food, or, like I said, the environment, water, whether it be silver, gold, silica, nanoparticles, which the UN supports putting into the water for clearing pollutants and stuff like that. But also, I would say, on an immediate level, what anybody can do is they can venture out into their local area and look for water springs, and to make sure to secure those, because, well, we all need water to survive, right? So thanks everybody for watching, and people can feel free to look me up on Facebook at Matt Unseated, or, of course, here on YouTube I'm Matt the Unseated. And of course, people should look at James Scott, who has the Barely Bruised Book Club bookstore in Ottawa. I will always leave a pinned comment in my videos where it will show James Scott's information. So thanks everybody for watching, and take care of yourself.